Hey there guys, I am SonicGhost and welcome to another challenge. Today we are here to attempt something in The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time. We're not playing any old version of Ocarina of Time, we're playing the unofficial PC port made by fans called Ship of Harkinian. This version adds a lot of quality of life stuff to Ocarina of Time, like D-pad items, widescreen support, higher frame rate support, 60 FPS and up, and so on. But this version of the game also adds a brand new way of playing Ocarina of Time, similar to a mode featured in the 3DS version of Ocarina of Time, and that is a boss rush mode. Here in boss rush, we can customize our settings to our heart's content. But what we can do here is we can fight all the bosses in the game back to back. And there are a lot of different settings we can mess with here, between just fighting child bosses, adult bosses, going just straight to the final boss in the game, or fighting them all in a row, having just X amount of hearts here, ammo count we can have between a limited amount, so just a basic amount, very, very scarce ammo, full meaning we have the max we can carry on anything, max meaning we have all of the upgrades to our ammo, say like a 50 quiver instead of the 30 quiver. So there's a lot here we can customize in this said menu, but that's not the only thing we can do customization wise. Because you see, on the PC version, if you hit the escape key, we get all these different things that we can customize in the game. And there are a lot of settings that you can mess with, and there's some presets to make things easier. But in terms of difficulty, this here is the big one I want to point out. I have it set right now where the damage value is maxed out at the final setting here for one hit KO. Meaning that if we take a single hit, no matter what kind of damage it would do normally, it's going to do the max amount of damage that we can handle in this said game. Meaning anything that touches us is going to instantly kill Link. So, needless to say, that makes this challenge a lot harder. So, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be fighting all the bosses here in Ocarina of Time's boss rush. We have our hearts set to as low as possible, even though it really doesn't matter for one hit. 20 hearts would be the same as 3 hearts in this argument. We're going to have our ammo maxed out, that way we can go ahead and just not worry about ammo consumption, because the biggest challenge is just going to be avoiding any single hit in this boss rush. Healing here doesn't matter once again because of boss rush. We can have it set where you heal before the final fight against Ganondorf, in between every single boss fight, or never at all, which again doesn't matter for a one hit, but we'll leave it to never. We can have on things that will make our life worse with this setting, hyper bosses. Meaning that the bosses are going to move at a extremely fast speed, but let's just leave that off, because one hit KO is already more than enough, in my opinion. Magic, we can either use the single or the double magic upgrade. We want to have it set to double so we don't have to worry about magic. You can have bigger on sword on or off. Bottles we can have as empty, put a fairy in there, have a potion of some kind, but I'll leave it to empty just so we have the bottle in our inventory to use. Long shot, on or off. Either you have the standard hook shot or the long shot for this boss rush. It just makes sense to have it on. Hover boots, on or off, really only helps for, in my opinion, the bongo fight, but we'll have it on just again, gives more options. Bunny hood, on or off. Once again, quality of life thing here, as the bunny hood in the PC version of Ocarina of Time here has its Majora's Mask trait where you move at double the speed, so we'll have that on just to move a little bit faster. And finally, there is a timer here that you can have on or off of the boss fights to see how good or bad you're doing in this boss rush mode. Well, let's go ahead and jump into the boss rush mode here in Ocarina of Time. This takes us into the Chamber of Sages, where we have a choice between 3 different portals to start here for Child Link. So we can fight either the boss from the Deku Tree, the Dongo's Cavern, or Jabu Jabu's Belly. We can see here on our inventory all the settings we had applied, but also we can see what kind of items we have in our inventory, which are essentially just the items you need to beat all of the different bosses here throughout the game. You only get one bottle as well when you use any of the bottle options in the boss rush mode here in the PC version of Ocarina of Time. So if you're going to say have a fairy, you only have one fairy to use for this said boss rush. But at this point, we should probably get ourselves prepared to fight these said bosses. And I should mention that this boss rush challenge video that you're going to be watching, this is actually a segment from a Ocarina of Time live stream I did earlier in the year 2025, where I attempted to beat the entire game with the one-hit KO setting on in this version of Ocarina of Time. So as a bonus, once we finish the series, we decided to also try the boss rush mode here in this PC version of Ocarina of Time, see if we can make our way through the entire thing without taking a single hit. So with all that said, I think it's time for us to get this one-hit KO challenge started up in the Ocarina of Time boss rush mode. And the boss we're going to be starting with is none other than our third boss and what I consider the hardest of the three child bosses here in Ocarina of Time, and that is Baronade. So without any further ado, let's go ahead, walk into the blue warp here, and get this boss rush started. I will mention to you guys in chat, I do have a compromise for having to tap out once we get the Ganon and I don't succeed. We will beat Ganon in this boss rush mode. We're just not going to be doing the full thing. That's my compromise. Because again, I'm getting exhausted. I can barely focus. That's why I'm making a lot of rookie mistakes. So what I can do is, instead of going through the entire trial, I can just load into the Ganon fights in the boss rush mode. So what I could just do is just do that. Because I can easily beat Ganondorf and Ganon in one go at this stage. It's just a matter of constantly trying until I win, but the fact that I gotta redo every single fight every time to get there is what's wearing me down. Because realistically, you get nothing for beating Boss Rush. It's an extra option in Ship. So it's a completely different save file, and the game doesn't save at all. There's no save prompts. Like, when you hit B to save, it just completely closes the menu. Not to mention that if you game over, it just says continue, no. It doesn't give you the same prompt there, or to continue. So you're doing this really just for your own sake. It's for bragging rights. There's no actual file to show you do it in the end. Hence why it doesn't matter if I can just select the Ganon and Ganondorf fight in the menu, I'll just select that. Because I also wanted to show hyper bosses for like one attempt, but I'm not doing all bosses for that. It's terrible. I like the option, I just think it's a little too much. If you're doing the hyper rush, I recommend doing it with full hearts and not one-hit KO status, because the bosses are a little too fast, in my opinion. So they're really difficult. If you want a real challenge, do the hyper mode, because bosses are sped up, I think, like 3 times. So Goma here, instead of lunging at you at a slow speed, she's like really fast, almost too fast to react. It's like an actual claw swipe from a cat. That's how fast she can move. That's why I'm not gonna like push myself to actually do an actual boss of hyper. I'm just gonna load in just to show it. So I'll die immediately. I die immediately. I don't care. Again, this is my final like full attempt, and if I fail at Ganon, we're just gonna jump straight to the Ganon fight, and I can just load in the boss fight just to show hyper mode really quick when I'm doing my outro. It's gonna be a very long stream week for me too, because I mentioned it on the end of Tuesday's stream. But for people who didn't see that, especially because I have people who watch exclusively with the YouTube ones, I don't blame you, because YouTube player is better than Twitch's player half the time in my experience, even for streaming. But for people who are in the know, we even talked about it very briefly tonight in the chat, but there is a Splatfest in Splatoon 3 this weekend. It is a new Springfest theme, so I'll be streaming that this weekend. Probably won't be a very long stream like this one, not a 6-hour Splatfest thing. We'll go for as long as I feel like. It might be like 3 hours tops, maybe 4. but it wouldn't be terribly long because I'm exhausted from this week of streaming, and I got one more day of it. I'm only been doing the new events for Splatoon, so thankfully it's only like one every 3 months, and we only got one more left after this probably. Because I doubt after the summer event one, they're gonna do a new theme for like another seasonal event. I feel like they're gonna start doing repeats for the season events too. Especially with the Switch 2 coming out in summer. They might just, at that point, opt to just stop with just Splatoon events in general, because they've kind of like done them all. Which I wouldn't blame Nintendo at that point. I was surprised they decided to do new themes just for the seasonal Splatfest, like one every 3 months. I'm just, like, I thought they were going to do repeats. Because they're doing repeats on everything else. Think they make a Splatoon 4 Switch 2? Well, we already know there is one in development. It was leaked out. Not like fully, but we have the code name, so we know it's actively being worked on. So yeah, probably. I don't think anytime soon. If anything, I wouldn't expect to see news about Splatoon 4 until 2025 at the earliest. I don't know if it's gonna work. I'm gonna try it. Okay, it did. Cool. But yeah, I wouldn't expect a Splatoon 4 until at least next year, but I'm very certain we're getting Splatoon 4. Splatoon is one of the most profitable games Nintendo's been putting out over the years. It's a very popular game, both competitively and casually. It became one of the sleeper hits on the Wii U, hence why we got 2 games on Switch. So it'd be a no-brainer for Nintendo to make another one. It's just a matter of when, not if. Because I really do like how... Oh, you gotta be kidding me. How did that not work? I really do like how, like, this random game that came out on the Wii U that no one was really even certain was gonna be good became one of the most popular games Nintendo's been putting out now in recent history. And it's not even 10 years yet. It's close to 10 years old, but it won't be 10 years until actually next month, because Splatoon 1 came out in May of 2015. I can't believe it's already been 10 years. I might play Splatoon 1 for its anniversary. I don't know when it actually happens. Like, the date. I have to look it up. But I might play it around that time, just for a bit, just to kind of celebrate. That's a pretty big milestone for that franchise. And I love the games. Even if I am still a little Splatooned out, I can always play Splatoon 1 for a bit. I haven't played it in months. Almost missed with that attack, because I didn't mean to jump that early, but it's okay. Because thankfully when you're standing where Twin Rover would land, you can still hit her with the elemental attack from your shield. I'm glad that still works. Now if we're talking about like will they ever make this kind of game for Switch 2, I wonder now specifically if they're going to make a new F-Zero. And it's because of F-Zero 99. That seems to be a very popular game on the Switch eStop still, so I would not be surprised if they do maybe a new F-Zero game because of it now. I would love to see it. We haven't seen a brand new entry when you don't count F-Zero 99 in 20 years. So we haven't had a full retail game in a very long time. And they're bringing F-Zero GX to the Switch Online service with Switch 2. So that's another F-Zero game they're bringing back from the dead. Because we got the original one on Super Nintendo. I think we have X on N64 service. And I do believe some of the GBA ones, I can't remember if all of them are on there or not for Switch 1. Oh boy. Okay, that was a little too scary. But we're fine. Gotta lock in. Okay, now I can unlock. That was a little scary. Okay, yeah, all the GBA games. I couldn't remember if they had like all but one or all of them. But yeah. We have all the F-Zero games when you think about it at this point on Switch Online now. I guess technically the only one we don't have is F-Zero AX because it's the arcade game, but we don't count an arcade game because most people probably won't. You have the whole franchise now being playable in some form on Switch Online, and very soon that'll be 100% accurate with F-Zero GX and Switch 2, which is cool. Oh yeah, and also X Expansion, I almost forgot about that. Because if I remember, because I played around with some of the X Expansion like years ago on emulator, I believe there's no real difference in the main game itself, it's just Course Creator. That's actually different. So that's probably why I haven't bothered to put it on Switch Online, because there's not much really different between that and Standard X. Also, they'll never reference 64 DD, that's probably also why, even though it'd be nice. Also, thanks for those dates, Kira. May 28th in Japan, May 29th for NA Europe, May 30th for Australia. So those are all the timelines to line up for the Splatoon 1 release. Alright, so probably by the end of May, I'll probably just do a little bit of like a 10-year anniversary, like one-off thing. Just probably play it online for 2 or 3 hours. Oh, there was one extra cup. Okay, I didn't know about the extra cup. I've only messed around with Course Creator, that's why I didn't really know that. Are you serious? You're already going back in the hole? That was fast. I might have to do the rock phase then. This will do 8 damage when I jump attack, but is it going to be enough? Okay, that was you trying to go to a different hole. That took a while. You just happened to pick the same hole. I'm shocked that didn't put me in another phase for flying. Thought it would. Ah! So close, man. I got 2 more bosses and then I'm back to the Ganon stuff. Maybe I play it safe and just nut for the actual Ganon fight. Don't fight him normally. Just throw Deku Nuts at his tail. I don't know, man. That's 10 Deku Nuts. I have more than enough, but it does feel like it'll take forever and might actually put me in danger more than anything else. So I don't know. That's what I'm thinking. Do I do these or do we do that? There's many different strategies that are popping up in my head. It's weird to go back to this version now and have a 30 FPS menu, because it's fully 60 now in 9.0. I'm just now actually used to the 60 frame menu. This one looks laggy. I know if I keep on saying that, but this game's been running in 165 frames for this entire series. That's just mainly because that's what my monitor does. I had it set to match monitor refresh, because it doesn't matter. I think years ago, having a higher refresh rate with game capturing inside of OBS actually caused some drop frames with the game itself. But I think that's been ironed out in newer versions of Windows and OBS, so it's not a problem anymore. I've done game capturing with higher frame rates and like an even amount, and it's been fine. Like in the past, I've capped things to 120, because that's a divisible of 60, so it doesn't look choppy. But now it seems to be fine. I almost got the super fast 1 cycle. There we go. Yeah, I can also do that. I didn't even think of that too, Kira. I can stun Ganon with the light arrow. That might actually be a good idea. And I have the extra magic because I turned on double magic. Again, that was just for safety. It doesn't matter if it's slower per se, just because if I hit him with the Master Sword jump attack, it still does a lot of damage. So even though it might be quote-unquote slower, I can still get the most damage out. I just maybe waste, what, 3-4 seconds tops in the fight? It's really not that much. It's very minuscule. I might just actually do that now thinking about it. Since we've been in the fight for too long, I think it'd just be better to play it safe. And if I stun Ganon, there's really no chance of him hitting me. I keep on forgetting that works, because I never use light arrows against him. It's because I normally don't die in one hit. So that's kind of why. You almost pushed me in spikes. That would have been really bad. Because I can die the same time Morpha dies, which means the cutscene would still play of Morpha dying, but as soon as it's over, I die and game over. I don't want that. I've died to Goma before at the same time of dying, but that's actually a speedrun trick. If you die at the same time when Goma dies, you can save and then quit the game and then reload the file so you can actually get back to the boss room with the door opened. So it's something I've done on purpose. Nowadays, I know if you're doing like the defeat Ganon route, which just has you doing the wrong warp to get the Ganon, if you use the older version of the wrong warp in the Deku Tree specifically, I know if you do that, nowadays you just don't die to Goma, you clip through the door that she shut starting the fight instead, which is very difficult from what I understand. Because you still have to attack the boss through the wall, and by doing that, it's really tricky. Alright, so no matter if this run succeeds or fails, this is the final attempt fighting all the bosses to get here. I'm not doing that again. I have to put a hard cap, and this is it. Because I've done really good up to this point. But I've also hit my own internal limit. I'm just shocked I keep on getting the quick kill there because I'm so exhausted. I didn't think I would. There we go. Okay. So as long as I at least get the jump slash out, I'm fine. I just have to make sure I do that. If I didn't, I honestly would just back up it. Since I have equip swap here, I would just equip the Deku Stick. That would have gave me the same damage value. And also, thinking about it here, if I didn't have double magic on and maxed equipment, I could still stun Ganon on every hit. I just had to bait him over to one of the pillars that drop arrows and magic if I need more refills. Because all these different pillars have different drops. I think one's a bunch of fairies, one's arrows, one's magic, one's bombs. I don't know if there's any more than that. There might be one for Deku Nuts, I'm not 100% sure. I just at least know of the core 4 I just mentioned. Nice, come on. This is actually very safe, surprisingly. I might just do that instead. Stunning him with Light Arrow might also cause a new problem. That's why I'm worried. Do I do that and then have a new variable to work with? Or do the old strat I already know and can anticipate? Just don't jump slash instead. Do the one jump slash to start the fight and that is it. Yeah, I don't know why there's bomb drops here. That's a great question. Maybe it's just in case they, like, you want another thing to damage Ganon with? I don't know. But I do remember one of these having bomb drops. I should have done that at the start. Jump slashing was screwing me over because if you don't hit Ganon immediately there, he still waits a bit. But if you try to do the jump slash, he's like turning around almost immediately. So I kept on screwing myself up by doing that. That was me. That was my bad. Alright, we did it. Pat on the back. I can't die anymore. The only way I can die is pulling out a bomb, which would be dumb. Don't do it, idiot. I'm half tempted, but I don't want to. GG's. So that's all the bosses in 9 minutes, 25 seconds, and 2 milliseconds. That is it. And there you have it. That is all of the boss rush mode here in Ocarina of Time. So every single boss in the game, all beaten without taking a single hit. That is impressive, but also at the same time, really, really difficult. This task alone took me a long time to complete, and in fact, this challenge that you've been watching, this entire thing was filmed via a live stream series that happened earlier in 2025. This specifically was one of the harder challenges I've ever done, and it was more than just the boss rush mode as I played the entirety of Ocarina of Time from start to finish, 100%ing the entire game with this one-hit KO setting enabled for the entire game. So, if you want to see me make my way through the entirety of Ocarina of Time, attempting my best to not die touching anything at all, then I would definitely recommend checking out that stream series. I'll leave a link to that stream series playlist in the video description along with in the end card of this said video. But This was a lot of fun, even though it was a very, very difficult challenge, taking me over 2+ hours just to complete this boss rush mode without taking any damage in any of these given fights. It was really important to prioritize certain bosses over others, because some boss fights in Ocarina of Time are a lot harder, especially for a one-hit KO state, like I had to deal with here. But this is a fun little challenge, and I recommend people, if they do play the unofficial PC port here, shipped with Harkinian, to try out the boss rush mode, as it's a fun way of just replaying some of the cooler parts of Ocarina of Time, in my opinion, as this game has some very solid boss fights in the entire franchise, plus it's some good practice for the next time you play the main story of Ocarina of Time. Plus, with this PC version having a boss rush mode, this puts it on par with the 3DS version having a very similar mode as well. A mode I played quite a lot in the 3DS version of Ocarina of Time. But once you beat the boss rush mode, you get thrown into the credit sequence here, so at this point the game plays out like you actually completed the main storyline and actually defeated Ganon in your main quest. So after we hand over Ocarina here, the game will start playing credits, but we're going to go ahead and end the video here. We're not going to sit through the entire credit sequence, as that's essentially the same between playing the game normally and a challenge run like this, but this was a lot of fun. Maybe in the future we'll revisit this challenge idea and try out the Hyper Bosses mode, but that will just be playing through it normally, probably not one-hit KO, because that just sounds terrifying. I've tried just fighting the final boss, Ganon and Ganondorf, in Hyper Bosses, and it's a lot. But maybe we'll revisit this concept in the future. But with that said, I hope you guys enjoyed this challenge. Again, check out my Ocarina of Time one-hit KO stream series. Leave a link at the end of the video for you to check out. But that's going to do it for the said video. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you guys next time.